Next, we have Anthony Koury from DigitalArsenal. His friends call him TJ. So if you buy him an adult beverage tonight at the reception, you too are allowed to call him TJ. He's going to talk about OrbPro, Cesium library for defense and intelligence. Come on up, TJ.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name's TJ, and back in 2011, I was working out at what is now Vandenberg Space Force Base, which is where they maintain the satellite catalog. Sensors all over the world, bring in observations, put them all in a big computer, and then they have to display them for the operators. Well, at the time, they were using Google Earth, which was the system of record, and they were asking for a way to get it out to the edge. So they were using the Google Earth plugin. It was clunky. I had to build a bunch of different web pages. So I approached Analytical Graphics, which is the company that Cesium spun out of, and I said, hey, I need a native browser plugin-less way to display all this space data. And they said, man, are you in luck? You got this guy named Patrick Cozy. Why don't you get a demo of something called Geoscope? And so I was one of the first people outside the company that actually got to see Cesium before it was Cesium. I said, wow, this is absolutely perfect. So I took it and I started making common operational pictures, streaming in. At that time, we were streaming in KML, which if you've ever used that, you know it's pretty big and clunky. Fast forward a few years, was still working in classified environments, started working for the intelligence community. And every single program, especially the space programs, had a new requirement, which was to use this thing called Cesium to start displaying data on 3D globes. So we started looking at all these different programs, and while it was displaying it, no problem, they have a real problem on classified networks with performance, both in terms of the workstations and the network. And so I remember one of the biggest programs, they literally had a pop-up that came up before the Cesium globe, and it says, do not display more than 75 satellites, or your system will crash. Well, if you guys have been tracking, I think SpaceX puts up more than 75 satellites per launch now, so it was becoming a real problem. You guys know about this evolution of technology, how we're pushing everything to the edge. So what I did was I took Cesium and I built my own back-end code using something called WebAssembly. For those of you that don't know, you can compile higher-level languages down into very, very efficient binary code that runs in the browser, runs in the server. And what I was able to do was actually propagate the entire satellite catalog, which around now is about 27,000 objects, in the browser on these very, very slow VDI computers over very, very thin pipes where they couldn't pass a lot of data. Instead of streaming gigabytes of ephemeris and KML and other formats, they could just send the state vectors, which were just mere megabytes, and they could actually see the entire catalog. On top of that, I added a sensors library. We did some conjunction assessment, did visibility analysis, a bunch of other stuff. And in 2019, I took the IP that we had been developing, at the time was for the NRO, and they said, you guys can go ahead and take it and commercialize it. So we created an IP holding company called DigitalArsenal. And if you go to digitalarsenal.io, you can see some of this. You can also go to spaceaware.io, which shows an operational version of this running in the browser, showing the entire public satellite catalog. So where do we go next? Well, over the last few years, we've been doing integrations for commercial companies, some for government, and I have recently partnered with a private equity firm and with another company that writes maneuver software that a lot of the big satellite companies run on board their satellites. And the reason why their software is so good is because it's about 100 times faster than maneuver planning software that you can get commercially for desktop software. And so what we're doing is we're moving that into WebAssembly, into OrbPro, and now we're going to have a code base that will be able to run in the browser, on the server, in the cloud, and on device, on satellites, on UAVs, and it will be the exact same math. So as you're doing modeling in sim, as you're doing planning, you get full fidelity across the entire range of all the places that your code is deployed. And I think that's all I got. Thank you very much for your time.